Hi there, we're talking DDoS attacks today for ZDNet with Danny Palmer. Danny, you hear more and more about these and have been in the news more. Where are we seeing this? How are these set up? What are we hearing about the most right now?
Well, they've been in the news this week in particular because a massive DDoS attack took out vast swathes of Belgium's internet. A DDoS attack targeted Belnet, which is an ISP provider funded by Belgium's government, which provides a lot of resources to government, parliament, universities, that sort of thing, research bodies. And this week, a lot of those connections were taken down by a DDoS attack. They were just overwhelmed by internet traffic and were not usable to the extent that there are debates in the Belgian parliament were able to happen. It took down things like the tax office. It reportedly even made it so that people couldn't book their COVID vaccinations because the website was down, or because someone out there decided to they wanted to overwhelm these networks of internet traffic, because ultimately, if you think that the internet is, it's a bit of a cliche description. Think about it like a pipe. There's only so much that pipe can take. So if you block it up with too much, it just takes down the whole thing. So ultimately, these sites were inaccessible for a lot of a day. I mean, they're still they're back online now, but they've still been a bit temperamental over the last 24 hours or so, just because recovering from that amount of traffic has been difficult, because a lot of these websites will have protections in place in order to protect themselves against this sort of thing, but there's only so much traffic that your protections can protect yourself against, and at some point that dam will burst and it comes flooding over, and then you found yourself like this, where your network and anyone who wants to use it, be they inside your organization or outside of it and want to access your website, can't. And when services are online right now, as a lot of them are, that's quite difficult for organizations of all kinds.
Yeah, and this is not, Danny, like you mentioned, in the news right now with this, obviously very high profile situation there in Belgium, but these have been going on, for quite a while. Obviously, you talk and write a lot about cybersecurity, and this is just another one of those things that that we're talking about often.
Yeah, I mean, they are very much the blunt instrument of cyber attacks, in that they are there to disrupt internet connections. They are there to make a point. They quite often were used by hacktivists, talk about a decade or so ago, and they're still using that capacity now. But they're usually there just to cause trouble, really. I mean, there's quite infamously. There were DDoS attacks which took down the networks of a lot of, this is back in the late 2000s, but Estonia and Georgia were two countries in about the same period, or at least within the same year, had their connections taken down. I mean, there's been there's never really been any sort of official attribution as to this, but it's highly suspected that those DDoS attacks against Estonian and Georgian governments, that's Georgia the country, not Georgia the state in the US, were probably by Russia, because it has geopolitical interests in the area, and it's a simple way to make a point. I mean, even if it can't be traced back to them, it makes, if your network is down because of a DDoS attack, you ultimately might look kind of foolish to outsiders, even though it's not your fault because of the way these work. I mean, it's just internet traffic is what is driving these, and it's fairly easy for cyber criminals or nation state actors, I suppose, to direct these vast amounts of traffic towards these websites, because you can buy DDoS botnets on underground forums. You can use machines, be it servers, laptops, PCs, even Internet of Things devices, which have been taken control of by attackers, to take all that traffic and direct it towards one particular target. I mean, it might not sound like much if you take the traffic produced by handful of IoT devices, but if you take millions of insecure IoT devices and throw that towards one particular entity, it causes issues. And a lot of the time it's just there because they are difficult to defend against. I mean, there's some cases where there are instances where attackers have gone like almost like ransomware, going, if you don't pay us, we will DDoS you. But there's money made like that. But a lot of this, it's a point to be made, or just because it can be done. There was quite a famous incident a few years ago now where Valve, the games company, was running a online games tournament. I think it was for Dota, if I recall correctly, where there was a prize pool of millions of dollars. Fans had gathered in an arena to watch this tournament, but because the servers were online, these were taken out by a DDoS attack. So the whole thing was delayed while this took place, and it's just one of those things where they are very, they're very in your face. They're not sophisticated, but they do the job. I mean, they're not used to sort of steal data or put ransomware in your network. But if someone wants to come out with a DDoS attack to make a point and take your network down, it's a relatively simple way to do it. Unfortunately, I mean, it's possible to protect against them with the right protections, but they keep ramping up so much that there's always more and more. You need to keep building your wall higher and higher in order to stop the DDoS flood from breaching it. So it's another arms race in cybersecurity. Even though this is one of the most basic cyber attacks out there, it's still very disruptive and it's still causing issues now.
Yeah, so basic and simple, as you said, for them, and really at its core, yet the consequences on the other end can be, truly devastating. Well, again, one more thing that we're trying to watch, Danny, and writing and talking a lot about, and for much more, you guys, on cybersecurity, DDoS attacks, what you need to know, make sure you stick with ZDNet. Thanks for watching.